Welcome to Wild Turkey Science, a podcast made possible by Turkeys for Tomorrow. I'm Dr. Marcus Lashley, Professor of Wildlife Ecology at the University of Florida.
And I'm Dr. Will Gulsby, Professor of Wildlife Ecology and Management at Auburn University. We're both lifelong hunters and devoted scientists who are passionate about hunting, managing, and researching wild turkeys.
In this podcast, we'll explore turkey research, speak to the experts in the field, and address the difficult questions related to wild turkey ecology and management.
Our goal
is to serve as your connection to wild turkey science. I don't know if a channel cat could live in this water. It's so muddy.
You stole all I mean? I was going to repeat it once we started recording too. The water couldn't get any muddier.
Yeah, if it was muddier, it would be mud, not water.
Where do you draw the line between when it is mud and when it is water? I mean, what's the ratio? Oh my gosh, we're already screwing up this episode, and it's supposed to be a special one.
It will be special. This is number 100.
Can you believe it?
And we started it with muddy water.
I don't know. I was thinking it was inappropriate to do that for such a special episode, but it's probably more entirely appropriate for this show.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about before we turned the recorder on. It seems to be working.
Somehow.
Like, why is this working?
Somehow. I just think, what we were talking about before we started recording is I think it's, just the coinciding, the synchrony of the topic and people's interest in the topic and concern about the topic. And very, very importantly, I think, too, the guests that we've been able to have on over the past couple of years, almost a couple of years. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Have just kind of synergized into making it what it is. I mean,
yeah, I think we captured the passion of this group somehow, and that's made it successful, and maybe it is in spite of us and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was a more thoughtful answer than I was going to give.
Well, what was your answer?
I was just going to say, well, two negatives make a positive.
Oh, that is true.
So maybe that's it.
Maybe that is it, indeed.
Yeah. So this is 100. We wanted to do something special for folks. So not only have we selected a listener and we have something to give away at the end of the show, but we're also going to structure this episode differently.
Yeah.
Which I think will be quite fun.
Yeah. We had one listener suggest to us, and thank you to everybody that submitted a idea for this special episode. But one in particular that stood out to me was the suggestion from one listener that we should have kind of all of our most popular guests back on simultaneously. And I'm just picturing, the way that we record this thing virtually. We've got, depending on how many people are on, each person has a little window. So I'm thinking about like the Brady Bunch, up there on the screen trying to all talk to each other. I don't think it would have gone very well, especially when so many of our guests are other professors, and professors like to talk. And as fun as that would have been, I think this is the closest we could get to that.
Yeah, I think so. And, I think it will be fun because I have forgotten some of the moments.
Yeah.
We'll say. And that's kind of what we wanted to do here. We wanted to take some time to reflect on the podcast and also some of those moments that, keep getting repeated back to us. They clearly have stuck in some people's minds that have reached out to us time and time again.
Yeah.
And we're going to do this more like a reaction. Where we're reacting to some of those moments. Some of them will be when we had guests that are favorites on here. And I think, just overall reminisce about some of those moments, but also reflect on it and think about it from the context of turkeys and, what we're trying to do here to benefit the species.
So You haven't seen the clips, right?
No, I have not.
Okay. Just making
We
sure.
we asked Charlotte to go and she's been editing from the beginning all of the episodes, and when she was doing that, she was marking key moments throughout the
Yeah.
process. So she went back and grabbed several of those and has put that together for us to have for this reaction
So
show
there's
right
no
now.
telling what she came up with.
Yeah, I got a few ideas of things that I'm expecting to be there,
Right.
but I have no idea what she grabbed.
Hopefully she didn't grab too much of our tomfoolery.
Well, I'm
See what I did
thinking
there?
I'm th-
Tomfoolery.
I'm I'm thinking this is going to be a fun one way or
Yeah,
another.
I hope so.
But that's part of it being a reaction, right? We're
Yeah.
reacting to whatever she came
Maybe
up
that
with.
is part of what makes it listenable is that we do have fun together most episodes.
Yeah. Well, there's a few times that I'm just like, okay, it's hard to stay on here with Will.
That goes both ways, Marcus.
Yeah.
This is like a marriage. You don't always have to like each other, but you have to just
Yeah.
make it work.
Well, we both keep our eyes on the prize,
That's right.
right? The whole point is to try to get information out to people, and I think also there's something to be said. We both are the first ones in line to acknowledge we don't know everything there is to know, and the audience has been here with us to learn a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
I've learned so much about turkeys and turkey management through all these deep dives and talking to these different people in this show. I just can't even express that enough.
And getting challenged, by
Yes.
our listeners that are both biologists and non-biologists have really, they've posed some questions that have made us dive deeper into certain topics, and then
Mm-hmm.
they've come up with some things that we weren't even aware of. So, just having that. I said, I think in the episode that I was listening to that launched this Monday, and it applies broadly to all these topics, is that as long as the conversation is ongoing, there's an opportunity to continue to learn and improve the way that
Mm-hmm.
we manage turkeys and manage land for turkeys.
Yeah. Well, and, along those same lines, I feel like I have grown as a researcher.
No
I
doubt.
now am more prepared with what questions I should be asking and how I should be asking them. And we're getting that from a lot of other researchers too.
Yeah.
Like it's really influencing people. There actually was another paper that just came out. It's not related to turkeys at all, but it is related to our conversation we were just having, where they were essentially pointing out that how important it is for collaborations to have scientists
Hmm.
where you can have constant discussion throughout
Yeah.
the scientific process,
Yeah.
and how much stronger the science is just because you have like a friend
Yeah.
to bounce ideas off of and get challenged
100%.
and all that. So that was just published. I saw it yesterday, and just made sort of fits the same dialogue here. This is a open conversation. We've had plenty of times on here where my thought process was really challenged,
Yeah.
and I know that's happening to the listeners too, because some of them are expressing frustration about that.
Yeah.
Like they don't know where we're going because
Right.
we seem to be countering ourselves over and over. And it's like, no, we're trying to lay out the data set. Sometimes they conflict, and often the researchers conflict with one another,
That's right.
and that's fine. Like
Yeah.
that's the point here. So
That
we're trying
is
to trying
that
not
is
to
a
block
true
out.
it's a true window into the process, the
Yeah,
scientific process.
right. And we have tried to stick to our guns. We don't want to exclude points of view
Hmm.
that don't align with ours.
Yeah.
So we've done that quite a few times now.
Yeah, that's one thing that I definitely wanted to bring up today is, well, there's several, points of appreciation that I wanted to share, but, I especially wanted to thank the listeners, our guest, and for challenging me on various topics, because over the past 2 years, I mean, there's certain things that I've realized that I had a certain level of bias in my belief
Mm,
system, that once that was challenged, I was able to recognize that bias. And it didn't mean that I necessarily always changed my opinion on it, but that I became a lot more open-minded about the topic going forward, and I was
Yeah.
more willing to listen to other perspectives, and that has definitely helped me improve in my work, in my job as a scientist. And then I think also, like you said, the deep dives and covering such a diversity of topics rather than focusing solely on my own work
Mhm.
has been a huge positive too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You know, the challenge from you, from several guests that we've had, that, has been tremendous. You know, also we've been challenged technologically. So I think we'd be remiss not to give our thanks to Charlotte as well, who's basically been behind the scenes pushing us to not be so bad at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're bad enough at it, so like having her dress it up makes it a little bit more listenable
Yeah.
at,
But she's
at all.
also been dressing us up a little bit, like pushing us forward so that we actually are, doing this better.
Hmm.
So, well, you ready to react to I guess that's the thing now on social
It is the
media. We do
thing.
these reaction videos, so we're
Or,
gonna do a
more likely since we're doing it, it's probably, it was the thing 5 years ago.
yeah. Well, we're ahead of the wave in in terms of scientists.
Yeah,
So.
that's right. We're leading the way. We're leading the way from the back end.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right, I'm ready to see this thing. I'm excited.
The anticipation is building.
Yeah, sort of like we just walked down the stairs for Christmas.
Uh-oh.
Oh, look at that guy.
There he is.
Look at him.
He's
This
ready.
is gonna be good. I already know what he's gonna say.
He's got it teed up. Yep.
Yep. Here we go.
12% of the nests that occur in either early succession, food plots, hay fields, pastures, row crop, 12% are destroyed by mowing alone. That's huge. If you could increase your nest success potentially by at least 10% simply by not getting on the tractor and mowing fields during the nesting season, that's a big deal. And it's not just landowners, even state agencies. They're still mowing openings as a way of keeping those openings open. Hey, I've been there. I used to be a professional mower. That really was my job with a state agency as a wildlife technician. From May through September, that's all I did. I got on the tractor and I mowed. I mowed and mowed and mowed. I mowed up fawns. I've mowed up turkey nests. I've mowed up rabbits and songbirds. And I'm riding around on the tractor with a wildlife patch on my arm. What am I doing? I remember one time I just stopped the tractor and I thought, what am I doing? I because of a reduction in the fall recruitment of many of these animals. And of course, I started asking questions, and they didn't like that. But
I didn't expect a confessional today.
You need to start asking some questions. This is bad management. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. Why do I not have any turkeys, but I have all these feathers everywhere? Oh my God.
Oh man, that was back in the day of the grizzly bear skin.
Yeah, that's just bad management. That's what it is.
Yet people continue to mow.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
I feel like there are probably a few folks that have stopped mowing, at least during turkey nesting.
Yeah.
Because of that clip.
Yeah.
But not only is it hilarious, it was also pretty powerful.
It was. Because I think, just presenting it very factually as you should not mow because this is what the data say about it, blah, 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 is not nearly as impactful as, Craig, because it really drives home the point. It's like, what are you doing? It really calls out the disconnect between what we say our objectives are and what our behavior actually shows.
Yeah, if you can increase survival by 10% by not mowing them over.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's like, are you really interested in managing turkeys, or are you more interested in landscaping?
Yeah, it's just like aesthetic.
A lot of time, I mean, a lot of people have other reasons that they try to mow, of course, but
yeah, of course, if they're haying, that might be different. But
yeah, or they're trying to maintain the roads as openings. But we have presented many alternatives to ways that you can do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're supposed to be getting into the technical side of this, Marcus, or
Well,
we're
I
just supposed
think-
to be reacting and laughing. But
Well, I think a little bit of both.
yeah,
That one, that is a powerful clip. He's definitely one of our favorites from our audience.
100%,
having
no
Craig
doubt.
on, and just reflecting on it, that was one of our first couple of episodes. I don't remember which one
Yeah,
exactly, but it was, we were still in the library.
yeah,
When we were recording that. When we recorded that episode, it did kind of seem to me, I was like, I think we might be onto something here.
mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
we're about to present some powerful information. We're gonna have a good time with it, and I think there are gonna be some people wanting to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that episode in particular was when I started feeling like this might do well.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons that Craig resonates so much with people is oftentimes when he tells them to do something or not to do something, that people recognize. Well, first of all, he shares it with humor, and it's always easier to get a point across when you inject some humor into it. But I think the other powerful aspect is that he's done it. And just
Yeah.
like in that story he was telling right then, I mean, it was tongue in cheek.
Mo.
But at the same time, he was explaining, he was like, I was right there with all y'all doing the same damn thing, And
doesn't make sense.
right. And just if we stop and think about it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And it doesn't help us
Yeah.
achieve our objective. So
Well, we still get some questions about it. We just answered a question about contrasting mowing and burning,
mm-hmm.
right? So it's not even just the timing of mowing. It's also the practice generally is less desirable because of the plants that it promotes. It often shifts the plant community more to perennial grass. It creates thatch that for young poults is really difficult to navigate, and also suppresses germination of forbs compared to if you used fire to do the same thing or disking.
Right. And I'll have hopefully some really good data on that here in the next few years to be able to show.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know others have collected similar data, but directly on managing your woods for turkeys.
Yeah. So while it may be better than letting it grow up into, a shrubland,
Yeah.
it's still not ideal, even aside from the timing aspect. All right, you want to hear another one?
I do.
This is going to be fun.
I knew that one was coming. That was the only one that I knew we would have today, and I was looking forward to it. But from henceforth, there's no telling.
Yeah.
I know. Never mind. I know which one this one is, too.
Oh, man. This is going to be fun. Let's see it.
Second funniest story closely related to it. We were running genetic analysis on all these coyote scats because we were using that as a way of tracking population size. So we were doing genetic analysis on all of them. I was outsourcing that to another lab because obviously I'm not a conservation geneticist. And that collaborator would send me back reports of the genetic analysis of each of these scats. And we were not only trying to, identify unique individuals from their genotypes, but we were also
coyotes. You're trying to so that you can tell from the scat based on genetics which coyote individual laid that scat.
Yeah, but the first cut we take before that is to determine what species was responsible, because sometimes coyote scats, fox scats, bobcat scats can look very similar to each other. So we did a species typing first and an individual typing second. And one of the scats that I had picked up, I got the data set back and it came back as human.
I was trying to stop you, but I couldn't keep
I
it together.
immediately sent an email back to the
like,
geneticist.
hang on.
I'll answer him. Just give me a
many
second.
questions.
I immediately send an email back to the geneticist I'm working with. It makes for a good story, but in hindsight, it wasn't actually a hunter's dinner from the previous day.
Well, I couldn't even stay composed because you had, it was like shock to the system.
Yeah.
But I was trying to be like, hang on, I have so many questions. And I was going to be like, what? How did you not know? How did you not know it was human? Why was it in the middle of the road? What about the peanuts in it? Did I not give it away?
Scats come in all shapes and sizes.
Oh man.
Hey,
That
I mean,
one.
I think that reel or that clip more than anything shows my dedication to wildlife research because I didn't
Shows
care.
something.
Like if there was a scat that showed up on my transect, I wasn't going to run the risk, even if I thought it might be some hunter scat, of not including it in my sample.
This kind of looked like Jed's, but we gotta say it could be coyotes.
Oh man.
Well, it is some dedication too. Not that you were having to do the scat, but you really, really, really wanted to know what coyotes are eating.
I did.
Right?
And how many of them were out there.
Yeah, try to estimate how many there are. Are the intense trapping efforts on removing coyotes actually making a difference?
I think I definitely could have had that project on Dirty Jobs. Mike Rowe should have come out for that one.
Well, it is a dirty job, but somebody needs to do it, right? But
that's right.
It's just been, oh no, here we go again.
35% of CRP in the Southeast was planted to introduce grasses, primarily tall fescue.
A third of the CRP was introduction of grass?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
That's right.
Man.
And this is from Barnes and Others 2013. Tall fescue covers an estimated 216 million acres of the Southeast.
Give us some context. I know you looked it up. How many states is that?
That's 6.5 Alabamas.
Well, there's your problem.
So that's 6.5 million acres that is not supporting poults. And before we move on from fescue to Bermuda.
Oh, you're just saying fescue.
This is just fescue.
How many millions acres? How many Alabamas?
Gosh, you're making me change units on the fly.
You got to be able to roll this stuff off the tongue. You can't lay that on me and not know the metrics. Come on.
That's 6.4 Alabamas. I love how we're measuring Alabamas. 6.4 Alabamas worth of fescue grass.
Good Lord. It's funny to me that my instinct reacting is to say exactly the same thing that I said in the moment. I almost said "good Lord" right then. The clip had that on
it. Our responses are pretty programmed.
Yeah. Well, that one is It was shocking to me. It's shocking to hear it again. It kind of like gives me this sick feeling. Like, man, that really is the problem. That's a major issue.
I know it almost seems like we need to do a reboot on that episode and put see if we can add to anything and cover that same baseline information because I don't know if the listeners agree, but I felt like that for me was one of the most impactful episodes in understanding why habitat has changed over time and just how profoundly it has changed over time.
Like that's just one type of land use,
and that's and that it's funny that it resonated, me converting things to Alabamas as much as it did with other people because I have to do things. My mind works fairly simply, and I have to do things like that to help get my head around, especially numbers that large.
Yeah.
But it was also funny to me how as I was going through it, you got to the point you expected me to have like all those numbers ready to spit out. I was like, Marcus, this is just a thing I was doing off the cuff to get my head around it, and now you expect me to have it outlined for everybody.
Well, I am expecting you to become prepared. But what I was going to say, it wasn't to make light of it, but that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
To me, that listening back to it, the exchange was classic. But also, we're combining it with a shocking thing that probably a lot of people have never heard anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a direct counter to getting bombarded with people saying nothing's changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, no. That's not even close.
Well, and I think it was maybe helped people understand how difficult it is sometimes to assess whether or not an area has changed because you've taught grass species ID probably as much as I have, and you know how difficult that is for people. So if you just see green grass growing out in an open area, 9 out of 10 people don't know if it's one species or another. So
Yeah.
I think, bringing some context to that and making analogies that help people understand it really kind of put people's mindset in the right place to understand just how profoundly things have changed over the past
Yeah.
few decades. It's a short time period, really,
Yeah.
that all that's happened over.
Well, and even thinking about it from a personal standpoint, my family's land, several generations were in the White Belt Prairie in Alabama. And I used to hear stories from my grandfather about hunting on horseback in our grassland, basically. And he would describe that, and then even hearing, other people that are still around describe what that was like back then, which, maybe was 60 years ago. They were describing an intact grassland that's full of native grasses and forbs, and structurally very different.
Right.
And the perception now is that it doesn't look like that because we hay it or because we're grazing it heavily. If we just stop doing that, it'll just grow back up into that. It's like, no. It's now Bahia grass.
Yeah.
Bahia wasn't in the system before that.
Yeah.
There weren't any thatch forming grasses, full coverage like that.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes it personal because that's my granddaddy.
Yeah.
That I had a close relationship with that experienced that when he was young. But they also don't recognize, even though they lived it, that it wouldn't just go back to what it was if they just stopped, haying or whatever.
I think it also emphasizes just how much more challenging the problem has become now in terms of land management for turkeys compared to what it might have been several decades ago, because now you're looking at, I don't know, the way that I would refer to it, at least the way it works out in my mind, is like previously when we didn't have such high coverage of those grasses, you were looking at relatively simple, what I would refer to as restoration of an area that maybe no longer was conducive to turkey brooding cover. But now, with the added layer of complexity that all the coverage of this invasive grass has brought about, you're looking at complete renovation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do you have to just, paint your house and touch it up versus you're having to come in and replace like structural components of it? It makes it much more expensive, time consuming, and difficult to achieve.
Yeah. And then depending on what the objective is, it may even require you to bring in plant material.
Yeah.
A lot of the species that were in that in 1940 are not there.
Sure.
They're not going to come back if you kill the grass. That doesn't, if your objective is to manage turkey habitat, you don't necessarily need those species.
Right.
Some of them. But, that it's just, it puts it into perspective. It is a challenge. And depending on what the objective is, it can be a different degree of challenge.
Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, let's look at one. Also realize I don't know how many of them there are.
And they talked about a case study where in Kentucky, there was this farm had 1,000 acres of fescue sod on it. And they used herbicides and some soil disturbance to convert that 1,000 acres of fescue sod to native grasses and forbs. And they monitored bobwhites on the property. And so when they converted that 1,000 acres of fescue sod to native grasses and forbs, the bobwhite population on that property increased from 9 to 60 coveys over a 3-year period without any other habitat manipulation.
Do what? 9 to 60?
To 60 coveys with no other habitat manipulation other than eradicating the fescue sod and disturbing the soil.
They didn't plant anything. Kill the grass, folks. We just spent a whole series on predator trapping where we're trying to get 10%. Maybe 15%. And you're telling me that they just went and killed the grass and they went from 9 coveys to 60.
So basically 600%.
And they don't have to mow the grass. I'm just saying, come on.
You're really selling it. Talk about a difference in return on investment, right?
Yeah. Good Lord,
Oh my
man.
God, that was the perfect follow-up clip.
Yes, it
I'm
was.
sensing a theme with all these.
Yeah. There may have been some thought behind this from Charlotte, is what I'm
Yeah,
gathering.
yeah. I mean, I think this
Oh,
is a
man.
good central theme of these. We went from Craig was mowing to Alabama's worth of grass to what happens if you get rid of it.
Yes. So that just brings back so much. Like that feeling of not remorse, like the the negative feeling that I had that I described a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, come on, like
Yeah.
let's just get out there and kill some grass. And
Yeah.
to me, that sort of characterizes it. Like habitat is going to be the primary factor influencing populations,
Mm-hmm.
and that effect size is going to be largest. And we have that data for a lot of species. And then the predator removal part is an add-on.
Yeah.
Right? It's you can potentially you can push the system farther, right?
Right.
But habitat first.
Agreed.
Not habitat only. Habitat first.
Yeah.
And I think that clip really speaks to that directly with data.
Yeah, it does. I don't really have that much more to add. I mean, it's
You're
just
speechless.
I almost am. I think you synthesized it really well. I guess the one thing that I will add is I remember when we went through that series of episodes on that very topic that I left it feeling like, and I think several of our listeners maybe even commented this in maybe some reviews and like messages where they reached out to us and comments and things like that. But when you add up everything, especially from the past few clips that we've gone over today, why would you expect turkeys to be doing well? Why
Mm-hmm.
would you?
You said that on the air.
Yeah.
I don't know in what episode.
Yeah.
But you said I'm kind of surprised there's even any turkeys left.
Yeah, I mean, let's put everything else aside. You can almost look at all these other challenging factors, and I don't want to diminish their potential role in turkey population dynamics, but you can almost look at all these other factors and think, well, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3. Would any of those be as potentially impactful to turkeys as they are if turkeys were actually living on good range that met the life history requirements seasonally,
Mm-hmm.
that are conducive to abundant, housing abundant turkey populations?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I know this was supposed to be more of a humorous episode, but now we're getting profound again.
Yeah, we're arguing over a small piece of the pie.
Right.
Right. When the rest of the pie is, in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go ahead and throw this out here, and I may get flamed for it, but we're worried about things like decoys and TSS shot, in the
Mm-hmm.
face of this, in the face of everything we just covered,
Yeah. When there's literally nowhere for a poult to be raised.
Yeah. Now, I think that those could be factors, but like I said just a minute ago, would they be if we didn't have all these grass problems?
I think it'd be a lot less of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do another one.
Coordination.
This is another powerful episode, man.
Look at me. I look like I'm about to drop some knowledge.
It looks like that turkey's standing on your shoulder.
That's Fred.
On a per square mile basis annually, how much feed do you think was going out?
Pounds per square mile.
Whatever unit you need to put it in.
Alabama's. I look like I've been eating some corn prior to this episode. But it's somewhere in South Carolina.
Yeah, representative of coastal plain. That's what they say.
Okay, on hunted properties in the coastal plain.
Yeah.
Pounds per square mile per year?
Yes. Yep.
1,000.
1,000 pounds?
Yeah.
You're only one order of magnitude off.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they estimated, and this was in 2006, 10,600 pounds per square mile.
How is that even possible?
5 tons.
5 tons per square mile on properties that are hunted in the coastal plain of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. That works out. They did the math on this, not me. So if the math is wrong, it's not I didn't make the calculations. 342 pounds per square mile per week. Based on how, the average amount of time that people are feeding, or 43 pounds per square mile per day.
43 pounds per square mile per day.
So a sack of corn in every square mile per day. Every day of the year.
That is absurd.
Oh, my God. I'm not even in the right tax bracket to be putting out that much corn.
Oh, man. I feel gross again.
Instead of a react episode, this is turning into now we know why turkeys are doing poorly episode. Because I feel like it's bringing in all the very, very obvious issues that they're facing right now that oftentimes are, things that we can choose to do or not do, or that we have directly, implemented that are negative for turkeys.
I just can't imagine that putting that much corn on the landscape has not affected things.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about a substantial portion of the available energy in the landscape is coming out of that sack.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about just for turkeys. I'm talking about in general.
Yeah. And over time, I have moved on that topic from a place where I was concerned more about the direct impacts of it to turkeys through, aflatoxin and increasing transmission of disease. And I'm not dismissing those concerns. I think that they're still relevant, but I worry to a much greater extent about how it's changing the ecosystem and how that may negatively in turn impact turkeys by, concentrating feral pig movements or concentrating nest predator or brood predators around those feeders,
concentrating turkey activities,
supplementing their populations while at the same time drawing turkeys in to make their movement patterns more predictable. And then you just go on and on and on down the list. And then, you think about if you layer on top of that it could be increasing disease transmission rates and translating into prevalence. And then maybe you're getting a little aflatoxin hit too that's, decreasing the function of the immune system even just a little bit, making them more susceptible to those diseases. Then it really all adds up to a situation where why would we not expect it to negatively impact turkeys? Now, I will admit, as a counterpoint, there are properties that have great turkey populations that feed corn. So it's not as simple as, if you feed corn, all your turkeys are going to die. But there are a lot of potential downstream effects.
Right, and that's one of the counters that you hear commonly is, well, there's tons of turkeys in Texas and North Carolina and various places that have had a long history of feeding. And I think that's a good point. That's why we need to do work on it. And I'm glad, I hope, us bringing this to light, it seemed to kind of, pull the wool over, off of this so that people could see the problem. Right. And I think a lot of people were already kind of in that space, but it seemed like, hopefully we brought attention to it. And I know that you and I and one of our other guests, Coulter Chitwood, and maybe other places as well, at least, or have focused on that topic, and now we're going to have some work on it. And I'm like you, I came into it thinking about aflatoxins initially, and then pathogens, disease second. But those moved down the list for me.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you ever hear anybody talk about.
Right.
That we're arguing over whether or not, the feed is going to expose them to aflatoxins. And I think that's probably several spaces down in order of importance now, after going through all of that and talking about this with you and others. it's definitely concerning.
Yeah, even though, turkeys were part of the reason that we even realized that grain could, be contaminated with aflatoxin. Now, those
Yeah.
were domestic turkeys, and I understand now that their metabolism is a little bit different, so they process it differently.
Right, and they have, the domestic lineage is more sensitive, most likely, than
Right.
wild turkeys to that. But that
Right.
doesn't mean that it doesn't matter.
Right.
It being more resilient to something that's still bad for you doesn't mean it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I definitely am more concerned about other things that you mentioned. So let's do another one.
So if there was a bird that had a dysfunctional preening gland, then they would not only not get to pass on their genes because they don't look good, but then they'd get cold and wet and die.
That's because that's a potential outcome. Or they don't float,
That would be bad.
or they're not aerodynamic when they fly.
That would be bad too.
And
Okay.
the reality is it's probably a combination of things that are really important,
Yeah.
like being able to fly and float and mate. Or not stink, so you don't die.
I can see the wheels turning already.
Like, it's
Yeah.
probably a combination of factors they're selecting for this.
I could
this
see them
trait.
cranking in
And
your
I
head.
would say that's likely because it's so highly conserved across bird species.
I'm just still hung up on you talking about they would not be able to fly, float, or mate. And I was like, man, that sounds like fly, float, or mate. That sounds like a good weekend.
Yeah. No, it's not or, it's and.
Oh, you get to do them all.
That's
You
what
don't
I
have
did
to
last
choose.
time I went to
You get to do it all. You don't have to choose. This was the day we almost lost our family-friendly rating.
That needs to be the title. It would be so misleading.
We used
Fly,
the title
float,
anyway.
And we don't have to be as serious about that one.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things like that are just like, gee whiz. Like, what? I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea about this part of the biology of turkeys.
Yeah. And I think I hope that that's one thing that we've done really kind of, I don't know that I would say more than anything else, but it's a high ranking objective for me is just helping people understand how much more nuanced this is. Because so many times you talk to passionate turkey hunters and they have a single issue that they're fixated on as being the problem with turkeys right now, And I hope we've opened their eyes to the diversity of challenges that they're facing.
Yeah. Well, I also I had never heard of this stuff, like the preen oil stuff, and until we did that deep dive, which I think I did the deep dive on that one. But then I started seeing it.
Yeah.
I've seen where multiple people have talked about it.
Right.
On various forums now.
Right.
So now I actually am seeing that. So I'm hoping
that's because you're an influencer.
We're having some influence on a very few people. We're micro influencers, right? So, yeah, that was a fun episode just because it was full of the gee whiz information, but also I do think it might matter, and it's just something that's kind of been under the radar, right? So we have some work starting up on that now.
Yeah.
Looking at how different things influence preen oil composition on turkeys and what that might mean for their survival.
Yeah, it's kind of cool how there's been I can think of multiple turkey research projects that have originated out of ideas that we've discussed on this show. Mostly ours.
Yeah.
Our own research.
Well, we don't know about other people. I mean,
Yeah.
we could be influencing others as well, but yeah, I agree with that. Several things have spawned from this discussion and show altogether. Okay.
Oh.
So
we've got a bonus clip.
Yeah. All right. So Charlotte has just told us
this is a recent
the
one.
last one. Yeah, we did this one like yesterday.
Yeah.
Our third treatment site was close to double that, and it was about 16 pigs per square kilometer is what we estimated it at. So this one was just swamped with pigs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the one that had a pile of them, how many was that? What was the density?
The density was 16 pigs per square kilometer.
All right. How many Alabamas is that?
Yeah, 16. So that would be like 35-ish per square mile.
How does it break down in terms of the relative proportion between techniques?
So I would say it was probably...
And if I may get down too far in the weeds on some of this, if so.
You're good. I'm just, trying to do some mental math here. I would say probably...
That's one of the things that we're known for.
Yeah, it's getting too far down in the weeds.
No, for doing mental math.
Oh, the math. That's it.
You look at the density of pigs across the site based on their camera surveys, and you look at turkey movements, based on GPS data relative to it. And I mean, it's kind of like there's holes in areas that turkeys just won't go because there are pigs there. You think about it from a landowner's perspective, that really hurts because there's entire...
You don't want it to be your property.
Yeah, there's entire acres of your property that, turkeys may consider unusable just because of the presence of pigs.
Yeah, it may be your whole property. I mean, seriously.
It may depend on the feeder density of your property.
That too.
I knew we were getting there. I knew it. Well, I was just about to say, if you've got a feeder out that pigs are hammering, you've just created a void in space used by turkeys. Dang.
Man.
We're kind of linking things together here.
Yeah. I've never really looked at our show from a meta perspective like we are today, and I think it's been informative.
Yeah, it's like a meta-analysis of our show.
Yeah. But getting back to the funny part of that clip, not always, but sometimes when we're sitting there and we're trying to do mental math, we talked about when we're trying to do mental math, I just feel I can't help but feel sorry for our listeners out there that are adept at math and how frustrated they must be.
No, you carry the two.
And actually, in real life, when we're not being recorded, I'm a lot better at doing it.
Yeah, it's just difficult on the fly.
It is.
Especially when you're trying to convey information and be listenable and have fun.
And stay in the that's the hardest part, is staying in the conversation when you're talking about really technical stuff.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to zone out and not react to something you're saying or not know how to respond because I don't know what you said.
Yeah.
It's difficult to stay in the conversation, but also, do some of that mental math. And the other thing people may be thinking, why don't you just go ahead and do it beforehand? Well, things come up all the time that I don't know that we're going to need math on.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know we were going to have to do that math on that episode.
Yeah. Right. And the other part of this too is you can be a fan of structure and you can be a fan of listenability, but the two objectives interfere with each other.
Yeah.
And that's something that we've
talked
about.
For us.
Well, for us especially, but you can see it in to those of you who've been listening, since the beginning, you've probably noticed this, is especially me and my personality type. I really wanted to carry structure when we started recording, and then I realized over time, mostly due to Marcus yelling at me about it.
I don't know if I've ever yelled at you.
He's not as nice offline, guys. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah, right.
But I realized that sacrifice the listenability of it, and that really people like to learn from conversations, and I think that that's something that is just innately human that we're wired to do.
Yeah, it feels more like we're around the campfire, the night before we're going hunting.
Yeah. And so you're going to miss some points and you're going to misstate some things here and there. But if that comes, not that that's a good thing, but if that comes at the trade-off of more people listening and we're getting the word out and we're still getting 90% of the right information out there to people, then I think that it's a worthwhile trade-off.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing, we have done this multiple times. We've realized we did the math wrong or something, and we corrected it on the next show.
Right.
It's not like we're just trying to mislead everybody. We are we are trying to correct if we say anything misleading.
Yeah. And we want to be real too, because I mean, it would be no problem for Charlotte to, go back and edit in perfect statements on everything that we cover. I mean, it'd be a
Mm-hmm.
lot more time consuming for her, of course, and I'm sure that's not desirable
Yeah.
for her. But we choose not to do that because we want to build trust and we want to build relationships with our
Yeah.
listeners and have them understand that we're not perfect. We just have the opportunity to think about turkeys day in and day out, and we're just trying to
Mm-hmm.
share that information because we know you don't have the time to do it.
Yeah. And, there's some degree of humility, right? I don't claim to know everything, and our audience knows that.
Mm-hmm.
We let it go. Sometimes we misspeak or we don't know things that people expect us to know or whatever, and we just let it ride
Yeah.
because I think it's important. Like there's nobody that is all knowing,
Right.
and we're not editing it to make it sound like we are.
Right. And I think
I-
that resonates with some people, but it's not for others, and that's fine too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely discredited us with some, and they've moved on, and that's fine.
I don't look at it as being discredited. I look at it as helping people frame my opinion in the proper context, which is that it is not all knowing or always
Right.
correct.
Well, we're honest. We're trying to, give you the conversation honestly, and there's been a couple of times I would say through the 100 episodes where we've said something that we needed to edit,
Mm-hmm.
beforehand, but the vast majority of things we've just let it go.
Yep.
And that on other podcasts as well.
Yeah.
We've been asked a couple of times. I know I have. I know
Yeah.
we have at least once together.
Yeah.
Where they were like, "Hey, do you want us to edit that out?" Nah, let
Nah.
it go. Because nobody's perfect.
It's exhausting to try to pretend that you're perfect all the time, so I
Yeah.
have no interest.
Well, why should I know everything there is to know about every species and every management practice and everything else?
Yeah.
That's kind of ridiculous to have that expectation of somebody.
Sure.
So that was a lot of fun.
It was. I wanted to wrap up, assuming we don't have any more clips, do we?
No, I think that was the last one.
Yeah.
I did want to say, if folks out in the audience, if there was something that you wanted to see, leave us a comment, and maybe we can do this again.
Yeah.
So if there were some reaction clips that you really wanted to see, just specify that in a comment to us, and we'll put together some from the audience, I guess, if there are enough.
Yeah.
Do it again
I'd enjoy
sometime.
doing that again.
Or if you don't want us to do this anymore, just say don't do this anymore.
Just stop. Just stop.
Yeah. Can you please stop recording this podcast?
I wanted to close with some gratitude, for this being kind of like a milestone episode. And I wanted to thank our listeners, first and foremost, everybody that's left us a review or a rating or has emailed us or direct messaged us a comment or a question. I appreciate that. I think that, like we touched on earlier, y'all have made us better at our jobs by challenging us, to do better, not just on this podcast, but, as scientists in general, and consider differing perspectives, look at things from different angles, all that sort of thing. I think our guests also, have made the show as successful as it has been. I mean, there's too many of them that have been way too informative. Like all the scientists, all the managers, all the biologists for state wildlife agencies. They've challenged us. They've helped us learn, added to our body of knowledge, and again shifted our thinking, and I think made it more productive at our jobs. I did want to thank you as well, for inviting me to come on here, and you said, I just need somebody to bring the talent. I don't know that I ever did that, but I at least brought a few jokes.
Well, we did decide that I was expendable, so I'd say that says a lot.
But also, our relationship has developed over these past couple of years, and we challenge each other regularly, and kick ideas back and forth. And I think we've both matured a lot professionally, by the exchanges that we've had. And then last, but absolutely without a doubt, certainly not least, is Turkeys for Tomorrow.
Yeah.
For funding this thing from day one, we had a
Yeah,
very
they took
vague
a step
concept at
out
that
on a
time.
weak limb.
Yeah, they did. And they were thinking about starting a podcast at the time. We were thinking about starting a podcast at the time, and they said, "Here you go, y'all do it."
Yeah.
And we gave them a vague concept and ran with it, and they've never gotten our way.
Yeah, they've continued to support us. They also say that, their membership consistently tell them how much they've appreciated their commitment to supporting us through this. I can't say enough how much I appreciate it also. And, they didn't have to do that. And they also didn't have to agree to just say, here, we will give you what you need to do this, and then literally told us to go with the science, wherever that takes us. And they have not tried to, tell us not to cover a topic or to say specific things or have a particular point of view on anything.
Mm-mm.
They, even though sometimes we have presented things that our messaging didn't align with theirs well,
Mm-hmm.
We have continued to go on, and they've continued to support us because we're trying to follow the science. And I think that, there's something to be said about that. Maybe that's what I just said. Was
Totally
what should
agree.
be said about that.
There's something to be said about it, and I think you just said it.
That's
So do you
funny.
think we're going to have a 200th episode? You think we'll make it to 200?
I don't know. I was watching those. I was like, darn. Maybe the best is behind us.
I was also noticing as we were going through those, 2 years doesn't seem like that long, but I was watching, like, you and I, like, had different haircuts, different beard lengths,
I
different
know.
body weight for me.
I'm grayer. Like, I was noticeably darker.
And if
in
I'd
some
let
of
my
those.
hair grow out a little bit longer, you'd probably see that I have some more gray too.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought when, at one point during that, I thought, man, I hope the best isn't behind us. Like, we had some really powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought about a few things on the horizon.
Right.
We've got a few things on the horizon that I know are going to be powerful.
Yeah.
And we're just
100%.
waiting on it to get vetted before we share it.
Yeah.
In other words, go through peer review.
Yeah. And I think there's also some of those topics as we were looking back at those clips that we need to revisit because it's been too long. And that was intentional because we don't want to, rehash the same ground over and over again. But some of that stuff is just too powerful and impactful not to cover again so that any new listeners that we've picked up along the way can get a chance to hear that information. And maybe we can build off of it too.
Well, and we're kind of doing that now with some of the oak management stuff in October.
Right.
We have times of the year that, or some things are on the mind of many, and we're trying to target topics that people are currently interested in. But I think we can continue, like you said, when we get to the right time, revisit some of these things that are really powerful.
Yeah.
Well, you want to give this call away?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's give this call away. Everybody's been just waiting for that moment, right?
I know. So sorry, everybody, for making you wait through that.
All
if
right.
you're listening on YouTube, well, I guess maybe you can do it on any platform. If you were watching us on YouTube, it's easy. I think maybe you can do it on the other ones. Just skip to the end. But now we're at the end when I've told you to skip to the end. So maybe...
Yeah. All right. Do you have it or do you want me to do it?
Let me see if I have it. Yeah, so Charlotte has sent us the random listener that was selected from a comment. And this was actually randomized.
Not
the way that it should be.
pseudo-randomized.
Yeah, this was randomized. But the listener that is going to get our commemorative 100th episode call that Will and I both will sign is at Evan Fisher 9165.
Nice. And what did he say in his comment?
He said, and Charlotte was like, man, I don't know if this, how powerful the comment is, like, I guess she wanted it to be like something profound.
But because it was truly random, we just went with it.
Yeah, I think it depends on your emphasis, is what I told her. So
yeah,
he said, this is great information every time.
Instead of
So
just
that was his comment.
Great information every time.
Right.
Well, thank you,
Great
Evan Fisher.
information every time.
And you can reach out to Charlotte directly at wildturkeyscience@gmail.com. Probably the easiest way to do it.
Yep, we'll get that call to you. We appreciate the support. Thanks, everybody out there. We got overwhelmed with comments and feedback and lots of ideas for things that we need to do in the future. And I think, I wanted to finish with one more thank you. I agree with you, Will. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this and all of that. And I also, we had a lot of industry players that have donated stuff to us and supported us and, helped us launch. So I don't want to forget them either.
Right.
But thanks for sticking to this. I know that it's been harder for you, given that your job doesn't really encapsulate this like mine does.
Yep. But it's worth it. So
I agree.
My principals won't let me go do other things. I wish they would.
Yeah.
But I also know that I wouldn't get to talk to Marcus as frequently as I do if I left the show, and I just don't know what I would do.
Well, if we keep getting the feedback and people keep wanting it and it keeps making a difference from our perspective, then I think we'll stick to it. So maybe we'll see 200.
We're pretty stubborn, so we very well probably will. That's one thing you can't fault us for. We're pretty doggone stubborn.
If I can avoid getting blown away, we'll keep going.
Well, I hope you do, and y'all are always welcome if y'all need to run up here and get away from the storm.
Yeah.
We can record some episodes at the house.
Yeah, there you go.
With children and dogs making a racket in the background.
Yeah, they can run around, do something.
That's kind of crazy too, is how our kids are growing up with watching us do this,
I know.
Because they're so young, like 2 years. I mean, that's a significant portion of their lives.
Yep. It's almost all of one of mine's life.
All right. Enjoyed it. Thank y'all.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Wild Turkey Science is part of the Natural Resources University podcast network and is made possible by Turkeys for Tomorrow, a grassroots organization dedicated to the wild turkey. To learn more about TFT, check out turkeysfortomorrow.org.